Good morning. Blessings and welcome, everyone. So very grateful to be with you here this morning. I am Tuesday May Thomas, and this is 4D Trinity, where we bridge fourth dimensional consciousness to the unity of mind, body, and emotions. I'm so grateful to be with you here this morning, and I'm so grateful for all of the new subscribers to this channel. It really excites me that that more and more people are tuning in to the messages I'm so deeply guided to share. I'm so very grateful to have this platform, and I'm grateful that you are here today. And I already see that I think it's April. Blessings. Yes, April's here. Thank you, everyone, for dropping a little line in the comment box and letting the community know that you are here. I'm really excited, and I feel a little disorganized for today's 4D Trinity because it all just seemed to come together at the last moment. Yet I trust, I absolutely trust that as I show up, the divine will channel through for the highest good and gift us all the most high messages that we may share together this morning. And this morning's talk is on body of water miracles. When we think about the body of water, we might instinctively think about the world, or rather the earth, this planet Earth, and how it is said that half of the earth is composed of water. We can think about our physical bodies and how more than half of our bodies is composed of water. I was watching a little documentary, and a scientist was saying that the brain is actually mostly water. We think about some of the foods we eat and how fruits and vegetables, to a great degree, contain a lot of water. And when we might go into looking at nutrition and such, people who are experts in that field would say, well, you have to eat more fruit, more vegetables, that they contain water. So if you feel dehydrated, to not only drink water, but to eat more foods that contain waters. So I am in no way a biblical scholar. And before we get on to me in no way being a biblical scholar, miracles. What is a miracle? A miracle, according to A Course in Miracles, is the expression of love. Anytime, any place there's an expression of love, that is a miracle. So in considering today's talk, I was guided to the Bible. And I bought this Bible years ago when I lived in downtown LA, and rarely dip in and out. But with regards to this water grid, this water consideration, I thought, well, where is water in the Bible? Where is water written in the Bible? And I'm just going to read a little bit for you here. From Genesis. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth, and notice how it says the earth, not the world. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was moving over the face of the waters. So we see from the beginning that water has been present. And it goes on, but I'm going to skip to the next paragraph. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament and separated the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven. And I'll go on to the next paragraph. And God said, let the waters under the heavens be gathered together in one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. So my point in reading you this is that water, according to this ancient scripture, has been present as a part of creation from the very, very beginning. In the beginning, right? Water was present. And God is said to have used the divine alchemy to create what is now that we consider Earth. And I'll just read a little bit more because I thought this was interesting. In the day that the Lord made the earth and the heavens, when no plant of the field was yet in the earth, and no herb of the field had yet sprung up, for the Lord God had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was no man to till the ground, but a mist went up from the earth and watered the whole face of the ground. Wow. The earth itself, what I'm getting from that is that the earth itself watered its own land. So in just moving forward, I think it's very interesting to have those considerations as a baseline to where we're going today. And then we know, right, that as God spoke, let there be light, let there be this, let there be that. And so it was. And so we're coming into this body of water miracles and understanding that we are a body of water living in a planet that is a body of water, and that the sound, the vibration of our word, just like God's word, has the power to create, has the power to manifest that which it speaks. And this is a miracle. This is a miracle. We know from our earlier 4D trinities and from your own studies, I'm sure, that we think about in this spiritual reality, that what indeed we think about creates our reality. Thought, we know, creates matter. Impressions create the field, the blueprint for things to become manifest within us and without us. And in our grid study, we understand that what we plug into, what we think, what we speak, what we feel is added unto us. And in that way, we are creating a connection not only with the collective consciousness, but we are creating first within ourselves the conditions for those feelings, situations to arise, whether it is anger, fear, love, light, healing, etc. And it's so very interesting to me because as we move into this new field of understanding more and more the power that we indeed have in this world to go beyond the world, to go beyond the illusion of what is portrayed as the world, we break into earth. We break into bridging heaven and earth through this body, through the divine word, through the divine consciousness that we hold and that we speak, that we think. We give it legs, we give it energy, we give it a divine presence. Where we place our attention is where we will receive more of that attention from outside to us. Where we place our energy is where our energy, in fact, will go and find itself and be returned unto us. Body of water miracles. We consider all of the thoughts that we think on a daily basis. Last week, I believe we were speaking about in our 4D Trinity about their scientific revelations that have shown that we have generally 70,000 thoughts per day. Now, I wonder how many words we speak per day. It depends, right, on the person. But on a general level, it is said that we have 70,000 thoughts a day. And what are those thoughts instituting into this body of water? Are we creating miracles within ourselves? Or are we creating circumstances that are not miracles? Circumstances that perpetuate the past, that perpetuate all that we've been taught, all that we think we know, and really all that is held in the past. It seems that there is a challenge in releasing ourselves from those past notions of who we are, of who we have been, as we merge and allow ourselves to align with that which we know is the truth in our hearts. And this is such a very beautiful power. Once we realize and recognize the power of our word, we begin to speak more wisely. We take more consideration into how we share our thoughts, our words in the world. We understand that all beings are psychic and that everyone can feel those impressions to a degree, even if you never speak it, if you think it and it's held in your aura. as you walk in the world with that, people, places, and things will feel that impression. And it makes me think about Louise Hay. She has a little book, and I have it somewhere on the shelf, Heal Your Body. And it's a book filled with affirmations where you can look up a specific part of the body where you have an ailment. And she has an affirmation, the probable cause of what has created that ailment, and then the affirmation that she has channeled that allows a recalibration, a reprogramming of the body-mind continuum. And I know for myself that I have used her affirmations, and often I will have an ailment. And there are times where I have simply spoken the affirmation once in the mirror, looking at myself and really meaning it from the heart as that affirmation resonates with me, looking myself in the eyes, speaking that affirmation. And within 24 hours, the ailment has disappeared. Now, of course, this has to do with our attachment to being able to, or our attachment to not being able to be healed, our attachment or our resistance to miracles. If there's a lot of resistance or a lot of unbelief in that way, then it might take a lot of affirmations. It might take a lot of goes at this, but then again, it may not. It depends, right, on what we feel or what we believe is the truth and what is otherwise. And where we allow ourselves to be present and listen and speak truths into our body of water, that it creates a crystalline shift in the body. Now, we're going to be looking at something here in a little while. I made a little video that shows us the power of our thoughts and the power of our words and how those thoughts and words interact with this body of water, with the water crystals in our bodies, and how it changes the molecular structure, and how, like this, we can go from being in a bad mood to being in a good mood. I was speaking to a friend earlier this week, and it seems that I remember for years I went through depression, suicidal tendencies as a teenager, all sorts of stuff. I just really, my root chakra was not activated. I really wanted to get out of here. I didn't understand why I was here. Everything, I felt like a victim of this world. And as I started to heal my life, what happened is I would go from being stuck in the void of a depression or of something triggering me and staying there for a very, very long time, really letting it affect every part of my life. And I'd go into deep dips for weeks or months at a time and then finally come out. And then something else would trigger and I'd go down, 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 and I'd stay there. But as I've learned to heal my life, little by little, step by step, what's happened is that as those triggers perhaps get triggered, it's easier for me to be aware and to catch myself, to see the pattern and to shift it like this instantly. And so the spiral, the rung of having to feel like, oh, I'm anchored down in this tar body, this shadow part of my past, the pain, the fear part of my past that had once had rule over me, no longer can hold me down in the way that it did before. And that shows how simple. Have you ever had that? Have you ever had that experience? Because that shows how simple it is to shift. I believe it was last week we were talking about quantum timelines, parallel realities, and how at one point I could be in this depression, you could be in this depression reality, of feeling a victim, of feeling the world is out to get you, there's no point. But then like that, something can shift. And all of a sudden, you're living a new timeline. You're living in a different dimension of yourself. And that's possible for all of us here. And water is malleable. The moment that you start to think a positive thought, that you start to feel and express gratitude and love, the molecular structures of water within your body, and I believe beyond that, of our DNA, begins to repair itself, begins to shift. Everything is everything. We are the water crystals in our body. We are. We are that divine consciousness. It's the God phone, everyone. Let's see. Hello? Blessings, dear God. How are you? God is great. God says hi, everyone. Oh, yes, this is such a fascinating topic. The word and water are one. Wow, that's deep, God. Thank you for that. Are we going to be reading today? Oh, we are. Okay, we'll read a few definitions of what miracles are from A Course in Miracles. And you want me to invite viewers now to go ahead and choose a number between 1 and 50. Okay, that sounds fun. Blessings and namaste. Thank you. Beautiful. Okay, so God is offering that you would intuitively call upon a number, place it in the comment box, please, and we will read from A Course in Miracles. A Course in Miracles is a book of mind training, of training ourselves away from fear consciousness to the consciousness of love, moving away from separation consciousness into unity consciousness, moving away from guilt, from shame, from blame, and into liberation, freedom, and sovereignty. Ooh, April went right to 50. Let's go ahead and read. So what I'm reading from, and if you've just joined us, go ahead and type in a number between 1 and 50. So in chapter 1, after the introduction in A Course in Miracles, there's a few pages that give 50 principles of miracles, and that's what we're going to read right now. So let's go ahead and go to 50. The miracle compares what you have made with creation, accepting what is in accord with it as true, and rejecting what is out of accord as false. The miracle compares what you have made with creation. You know, and it's interesting because according to A Course in Miracles, what we make is different from what we allow creation to channel through us. It is said that there's a difference, and that what we, the ego version of ourselves, make is rooted in fear, that as great or as grand as it could be, that there are still roots of polarity, of duality. And this is saying that the miracle compares what you have made with creation, accepting what is in accord with it as true. So those aspects of what you decide to create, right, as a thought, as a word, as a project, as anything in your life, those aspects that it has come from in relation to any fear-based notions becomes released, leaving only that which resonates as truth with it, and rejecting what is out of accord or false, leaving only that which is true. And this is the miracle. This is the miracle when we think in one way, we project a certain way upon a certain situation, and then we think and allow for a greater vision to come through that. Sometimes we have a thought, sometimes we have a belief, and there's a part of us that knows that there's a little piece missing, that there's a little bit of that that could be fine-tuned. I've even done this with affirmations, where I have journals and journals of affirmations, and they resonate at the time when I write them and I use them and I say them. Yet over time, what I realize is as I go back in, or after using them for a period of time, I realize, like, well, wait a minute, this can actually be fine-tuned even more. Let me cross out this word, leave this word, and something happens where it becomes more succinct. And so in a way, I can offer that as an example of the miracle of truth is always there, even as it may be covered or distracted by something that apparently seems true, but that in actuality contains falsity. So the miracle will always bring the truth through what is false. Now, I'd love for you to pick one more. I think there's only a few of us hopped on this morning. So April, go ahead and give me one more, and then I'll choose one as well. The meaning of miracles. While you're thinking about it, April, I'm going to read one here. The first principle, there is no order of difficulty in miracles. One is not harder or bigger than another. They are all the same. All expressions of love are maximal. All expressions of love are maximal. Blessings. 25. Okay, we're going to 25. Thank you so much, April. 25. Miracles are part of an interlocking chain of forgiveness, which, when completed, is the atonement. Atonement works all the time and in all the dimensions of time. Ooh. Miracles are part of an interlocking chain of forgiveness, which, when completed, is the atonement. The atonement is that suspending of judgment. It is that going beyond the duality, the polarized veils of this world that we live in. And miracles are part of an interlocking chain of forgiveness. So specific to a personal situation where your higher self knows that forgiveness is the key to the alchemy of shifting that energy within you and within others. It is connected, right? We think about the grids. As I'm holding a grudge or resentment towards someone, that's connecting me to the universal strata, that universal matrix of the grid of collective consciousness. Yet as I choose forgiveness, what happens is I unhook myself from those grids that I was at first connected to. And so adding more unforgiveness into that situation, into my consciousness, into that greater whole, I am releasing that and allowing forgiveness to then reroute and shift and change my consciousness, to change my circumstances, to change the way that I am seeing things. And so there's a chain reaction because it's within me as it connects to the greater whole and comes back to me, but also as it's related to all the other people and places. You know, I had a situation here the other day where someone was over, my laptop was open, and I didn't understand that they were trying to find out what time it is. And on my laptop, I have on the Mac, right, on the Mac Pro, you could either choose the clock that looks like an old analog clock with the hands, or you can choose, you know, the numbers, like 1:45 or 2:30, or you could have the little round clock with the numbers on it. And I didn't understand that they were asking me what time it was. The way that they were perhaps expressing themselves was not clear to me that that's in fact what they were asking. And I was in the other room, and I came back into the room and I said, what's going on? What are you asking? And I looked at my computer and I saw that they had gone in and they changed my clock to the digital, to the numbers reading. And I got perturbed for a moment there. I said, what are you doing touching my computer? Like, that's not cool. Like, I wouldn't touch yours. I wouldn't go in and change something on yours. I wouldn't go into your iPad and start looking around or changing the way that you have your settings. And I got pissed for a moment. I got pissed there. Yet what I have to recognize, and the point to this is that what I get to recognize is that that's connected to a chain of events whereby I feel a victim, where I feel that other people have crossed an unhealthy boundary with me, specific to things that are private to me, things that are, it's a privacy thing, right? And there's nothing on the computer that's bad or anything that I didn't want this person to see. Yet, and it's not about attachment. It's not that this is mine and you can't ever be on it. Yet there's a communication that I would have appreciated and I would have been happy to facilitate and tell this person what time it was without them having to go in. Now, this is, again, linked to, I used to have a roommate, and everything, I had some very interesting experiences with this person. Yet there was one time, and I had feelings of mistrust with her, but I would overlook them, place love there, etc. And there was one time I was in the shower, and I come out from the shower and I come into my room, and she is sitting at my desk on my computer doing stuff, looking in my files. And I was like, whoa, hell no. What are you doing? You know, da, 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 da. So, and I was like, get out. This is completely inappropriate. Why are you on my computer? This makes no sense. This is a no. I don't know how you feel about this, but that's how I felt about it, that that's just not, unless we had an agreement and there was a communication of like, sure, hop on my computer anytime and you can look through anything you want anytime. That was not the agreement. And so what I got to see is when this person went in and changed my clock setting, it was connected, that chain was connected to all of those past experiences that I had. And I got to recognize that, place love there, forgive, and de-link my attachment to the grid of like, I'm a victim, or, you know, how can I hold healthy boundaries? People disrespect my boundaries, or all that stuff, right? So I got to choose forgiveness and shift how I was plugging into that memory, because it's already a memory. The moment it happens, it's already a memory. I got to shift that. And so a chain of forgiveness happened. And then there's the atonement. Once it's released, once that has cleared, and I am no longer connected to those grids, to those memories of being hurt, of being taken advantage of someone invading my privacy, and whatever, all those things that be connected to. As I release that, and I choose love, and I choose to forgive, then that is the new scheme of which I can then be at one with love. I can suspend judgment, and the atonement then happens. Atonement works all the time and in all the dimensions of time, which I love that, because I know we dip in and out of speaking about this idea through all dimensions, time and space. All dimensions, time and space is the matrix. That's every thought, every word, every act, every feeling, every emotion, from the beginning of time, as we collectively agree that there is a beginning of time, up until now. And all of that creates all of the multiple dimensions that we can exist in, that we can hop in and out of. And again, it's like that. The shift is like that. And I'm going to show you this video. It's so interesting. And before we go into that, you know, as I was doing a little research on this subject, body of water miracles, what I saw is this experiment where a woman was given a glass of water just from the faucet, not treated, not filtered. Drank the water. 12 minutes later, they pricked her finger, looked at the blood under a blood microscope. And what they saw, this was a doctor. The doctor saw there was this heart disease, like the cells were all clumped together. They were not looking healthy and bubbling and floating around. There was no space between the cells. They were all clumped together and looking very dreary. And she saw like, oh, well, this is a marker for lung disease. This is a marker for heart disease. This is a marker for, you know, all of these ailments and illnesses were projected into this person's blood. And the doctor could see this. 5 minutes later, the doctor gives the same woman a glass of water that has been blessed, that has been simply blessed with the consciousness of love, with the consciousness of gratitude. 12 minutes after the woman drinks that water, the doctor pricks another finger, takes a slide, looks at the blood under the microscope, and it is a completely different reality. Just like that, it has shifted. And all of a sudden, her cells are looking healthy and happy. The markers that were there just 12 minutes before were gone. And this is what I'm saying. We're going to talk about this, about neuroplasticity and the way that we can jump into these parallel dimensions and different timelines, all from shifting, right, our word, our thought, from what we energetically project into the water that we drink, into the water of our bodies. And it's just like that, that things can shift, that we can shift things. So when we think about our affirmations, we think about, you know, the prayers that we do, the music that we listen to. We're going to talk about music here shortly. All of these things shift the vibrational frequency, create miracles within our body. They have the potential to create the miracle of love, the miracle of health, the miracle of healing. Just like that. Now that's a miracle. That's so, so very powerful. And the woman drinking the water was completely neutral. She wasn't projecting anything to the water. She didn't know which water was which. She was just a part of the experiment. Another part of my research was they were interviewing an agriculturalist who is doing experiments on her farm with water that is just municipal water, right? That the water that comes out of the faucet, say, in giving that water to the plants versus water that has been blessed. And her studies showed that the water that was just the municipal water coming out, treating the plants, or the agriculture, right? The tomatoes, the carrots, the lettuce, whatever it was, that it took tons of water to saturate these plants, to saturate the seed in order for them to grow. And even when they did grow, they didn't fully express their full beauty, their full extension of being a beautiful miracle of organic blessing of this earth, right? All the foods are just such a blessing on this earth. Now, when she went to go and do this experiment on a different part of the plot with water that was blessed, she noted that it took only 25% of all the water that she had to treat the other crops with that was municipal water. It only took 25% of the blessed water to do the same harvesting. And the end result is that, you know, the tomato from the blessed water crops was big and beautiful and colorful and vibrant. And all the stalks of all the plants were healthy and the leaves were big and beautiful, versus the tomato from the crops that were coming from the municipal water hadn't reached its full fruition. It's like it was struggling to be its full, beautiful, bountiful self. And we think about us, and we think about what we ingest, not only our thoughts, but even the water, since we're talking about specifically water and the miracle of water. Now, isn't that just profound? And isn't it profound how quickly things can switch with that blood experiment earlier? How quickly just one little glass of water can shift the entire chemistry of our body. And one little glass of water can shift it in another way. There's also a story of sailors who were out on their large vessel, and the vessel started sinking, and they had to abandon ship. And so there was, I think, about 12 of them that got into one of the dinghies, right? One of the rafts. They lost their way. They didn't know how soon they would come to land. They had no food. They had no water. They were on this little vessel for 3 weeks without food or water. 3 weeks in, they find land. They wash ashore. And the people there are saying, how did you survive for 3 weeks without water? And the captain and the rest of the crew told them the story. They said, what we did is we prayed and we blessed the water around us. And we spoke to the water. And we imagined and we said that it was clear, fresh, pure drinking water. They blessed it, they silently blessed it, they spoke over it as they floated in this dinghy, not knowing when they were going to reach land. And they would then cup the hand into the water, bring it up, say that blessing again, and drink it. And they swore that as they tasted it, as it went into their bodies, that they could taste fresh, clean, spring, pure water. And that's how they survived, right? Because it said that we can survive without food for a certain amount of time, but water is a very valuable commodity, and it's in you. Now, there's more. But what I want to do is I want to switch gears, and I'm going to show you this video that I compiled. We're going to look at a few things. It's short, but I want to convey some ideas to you. So the first time I ever heard of this water crystal technology, right, this metaphysical technology where we can shift the molecular structure of water, was in a movie called What the Bleep Do We Know? And it's a fantastic movie. If you can get your hands on it or watch it. I know I've seen it a million times. I've gotten the video a million times and given it away, and now I want to get back into it. But I did a little research, and I'm going to introduce you to Dr. Emoto, if he is new to you. He's a Japanese doctor, scientist. And he did these experiments, which we're going to check out right now. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and we'll get into this. Okay. Masaru Emoto was a Japanese author, researcher, photographer, and entrepreneur who said that human consciousness has an effect on the molecular structure of water. Human consciousness has an effect on the molecular structure of water. Born in Japan passed away in Japan. Now here, I want to pause here. If you look up Emoto on Wikipedia, this is where I got this. Emoto said that water was a blueprint for our reality, and that emotional energies and vibrations could change the physical structure of water. Emoto's water crystal experiments consisted of exposing water in glasses to different words, pictures, or music, and then freezing and examining the aesthetic properties of the resulting crystals with microscopic photography. Emoto made the claim that water exposed to positive speech and thoughts would result in visually pleasing crystals being formed when that water was frozen, and that negative intention would yield ugly, quote, frozen crystal formations. So I think this is very, very interesting, because he was the first one. This was groundbreaking. He was the first one to do this. Now, there are many scientists who would debunk him and just say, like, you know, he needs more scientific proof. But ultimately, if you look up science, if you just go to Google and you look up science as the definition, it is one who is experimenting, right? There is nowhere, because Emoto did not have a PhD, these scientists were debunking him and saying, like, man, the stuff that he's offering has no scientific background and stuff, right? Where's the proof? Where's the proof? Well, the proof is right there, what he was doing. And so ultimately, right, it's up to us what we believe. But here's this. So we're going to watch this little video. Dr. Emoto exposed music, words spoken, words typed, pictures and videos to water. After it was crystallized, the water's response was truly majestic. Okay. So we're going to check out some of his experiments here. This is what the water crystal of love looks like when he did this experiment. Thank you. Kind of looks like snowflakes, right? Love and appreciation. Happiness. Just let this soak in. Truth. Wow. How very beautiful. Crystallized water from Lake Carapicuba. Pardon my pronunciation. Fujiwara Dam, before offering a prayer. Before offering a prayer. Mother Teresa. Interesting. You make me sick, I will kill you. Look at what that looks like. You can almost see a person there within that crystal formation. Soul, note central heart shape. So look at the central heart shape in the middle. Adolf Hitler. Very interesting. Gratitude. Beautiful. Look at how precise and organized that is, how coherent. Water sample from holy water. Wow. Peace. All of these qualities are within us at any given time. Music played, Beethoven's Pastoral. How very powerful. How very beautiful. Amazing grace. So again, he taped words, placed thoughts, either written or spoken, onto vessels of water, and this is what the molecular structure turned into after exposure to a child. So water after being exposed to a child, and this is anger. Deep dark hole there. Not as coherent at all. If thoughts can do that to water, imagine what our thoughts can do to us. Up to 60% of our body is water. Isn't that amazing? I remember the first time I saw this, the first time I came into contact with this, it was like a deep part of me knew, a deep part of my spectrum realized this as truth. I recognized it as truth right away. How does it resonate with you? Does it resonate with you? And I just looked this up and pasted this into our little video here. How much of your body is water? What percentage? The average adult human body is 50 to 65% water, averaging around 57 to 60%. The percentage of water in infants is much higher, typically around 75 to 78% water, dropping to 65% by 1 year of age. Body composition varies according to gender and fitness level because fatty tissue contains less water than lean tissue. Okay, the reason why I put this in is because I thought this was so interesting that infants have a higher, much higher percentage of water. Their whole body, look at almost 80% of their body is water. And we think about, you know how there's this expression, and there's many different ways to think about it or speak about it, but that, you know, children are like sponges, right? And whatever you say or think or put in their environment is deeply going to affect them, is deeply going to be giving them a certain level of consciousness, of roots, so that as they grow up, that's going to be the baseline of what they believe, of what is true to them. And we think about, I know someone who's having a baby who, you know, we've seen these things where they put the headphones over the mother's belly as the baby is growing up, playing classical music or whatever it is, soundscape, nature sounds, to welcome the baby, to give this imprint onto the child. So I just think that's very, very, very interesting. So we're going to go into something here, and I want you to tell me, I pray that the volume is going to be okay here. I know this one segment, the volume was really hard to get a hold of, so bear with me and listen close, please. Here we go. What fires together wires together.
We know physiologically that nerve cells that fire together wire together. If you practice something over and over again, those nerve cells have a long-term relationship. If you get angry on a daily basis, if you get frustrated on a daily basis, if you suffer on a daily basis, you're rewiring and reintegrating that neural net on a daily basis, and that neural net now has a long-term relationship with all those other nerve cells called an identity. Every time we interrupt the thought process that produces a chemical response in the body, every time we interrupt it, those nerve cells that are connected to each other start breaking the long-term relationship.
Every time we interrupt an emotional or mental pattern, nerve cells start breaking old relationships and start creating new ones.
We're in completely new territory in our brain. And because we're in completely new territory, we're rewiring the brain, literally reconnecting to a new concept.
That was Dr. Joe Dispenza. And this is the last, it's only 2 minutes on neuroplasticity.
Not so long ago, many scientists believed that the brain did not change after childhood, that it was hardwired and fixed by the time we became adults. But recent advances in only the last decade now tell us that this is simply not true. The brain can and does change throughout our lives. It is adaptable, like plastic. Hence, neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity. How does neuroplasticity work? If you think of your brain as a dynamic, connected power grid, there are billions of pathways or roads lighting up every time you think, feel, or do something. Some of these roads are well-traveled. These are our habits, our established ways of thinking, feeling, and doing. Every time we think in a certain way, practice a particular task, or feel a specific emotion, we strengthen this road. It becomes easier for our brains to travel this pathway. Say we think about something differently, learn a new task, or choose a different emotion. We start carving out a new road. If we keep traveling that road, our brains begin to use this pathway more, and this new way of thinking, feeling, or doing becomes second nature. pathway gets used less and less and weakens. This process of rewiring your brain by forming new connections and weakening old ones is neuroplasticity in action. The good news is that we all have the ability to learn and change by rewiring our brains. If you have ever changed a bad habit or thought about something differently, you have carved a new pathway in your brain and experienced neuroplasticity firsthand. With repeated and directed attention towards your desired change, you can rewire your brain.
All right. So thank you so much for watching that. We're going to come back over now. All right. So isn't that, I just think that it's such an integral and important part of understanding that everything is malleable, that all of energy is here and there, and it's wherever we place, again, our attention, wherever we place that intention, that awareness of word, of thought, of action, of deed, of emotion, that we shift not only the chemical structure in our bodies, the molecular structure, the crystalline structure of the water that we are more than 50% of, and we also begin to shift the synaptical connections through the brain. And that very much so represents what we were talking about earlier in how we connect to the universal grid, to the universal matrix of this third dimension. When we connect in a certain way, we are connecting, and so adding more of that into us by way of plugging in, by way of choosing, by way of our thought, of our word, of our action, of our deed. As we shift that, just how Dr. Joe Dispenza was showing, that the neurons begin to unstick, just like the grids begin to unstick from that old way of doing things, that old way of thought, and begin to recalibrate and connect us to a new labyrinth, a new network that can be connected to love, to light, to health, to healing, to happiness. And I bring this up because it feels that this is such an important part of the greater whole, that as we shift the chemistry in our body, as we shift old pain, past trauma, past events, forgive and choose love and alchemate, right? Lower, denser frequencies within us. We begin to shift our vibration. Our vibration raises into alignment with resonance at the heart center. And as we do this, the brain starts to change the way that it is wired. And that reflects how we indeed are connected and wired to the grid. We can think about the grid being the same thing as those synaptics. It reflects perfectly how our brain connects, how our thoughts connect us to feelings, to chemistry, to emotions, to the chemicals that get released when we get angry, when we feel jealous, when we feel defeated, or whatever it is, disrespected. And that we can change it like that, right? We have the choice. That's the gift. We have the choice. We are constantly choosing love or fear. And so here at 4D Trinity, we're all about bridging heaven on earth, and we're all about connecting, being conscious creators, conscious co-creators of our life experience, and connecting with love so that we can enjoy heaven on earth realization, so we can come into this level of unity consciousness. And I see, oh, blessings, Tammy. Tammy's here. Good morning, Tammy. Thank you for being here and dropping a line. Okay, I'm so grateful. And I'm just curious, April and Tammy, and anyone else who might be watching right now, is this the first time that you've heard about Dr. Emoto? I'm just curious. If you want to type in a quick yes or no, I would be so grateful, because I know for me, when I first heard this, my mind was blown. Yet at the same time, it was like so resonant in that, like, this is the truth. This is so, like, I don't need a PhD to get this, to realize this and recognize this. So speaking of vibration, speaking of frequency, right? 528 Hertz. Now, and again, I am not a scholar, but I feel, but I'm a curious metaphysician of sorts, right? And as we all allow ourselves to broaden our perspectives and perceptions combined, we begin to gather more information to substantiate that which we know is truth. We begin to find out more and more people have that same experience or have that same collective awareness. And even history will tell us 528 hertz is said to be the vibration of all of nature. When nature is just left alone, they can tap in, right? Scientists can tap in to the sound, to the vibration, to the frequency of a blade of grass, of a tree, of a flower, of a forest. And that when it is left alone, when it is simply listened to, the vibration, the frequency of it is 528 hertz. It is said that 528 hertz, if you go into YouTube later and you just type in 528 hertz, you'll come up with all of these beautiful songs, right, where that people have orchestrated and put together different melodies or different music for sleep or DNA repair. It is said that 528 hertz is absolutely that which repairs our DNA, just to be in the presence of that frequency. It releases conflict. It moves us into a state of healing and love consciousness, of union. And it is said to relate to the Solfeggio Scale. The Solfeggio Scale, if you have ever listened to or you've heard Gregorian chants, right, these beautiful cascades of a choir of monks that are doing these beautiful chants, it is very relaxing and very peaceful. And all of those old chants and a lot of classical music from back in the day was made from using the Solfeggio Scale. It is said that when we sigh, you can do that if it feels good for you right now, just sigh. When you tone, when you laugh, that all of these sounds are creative and they put us, that's a natural, when we don't think about it, when we don't think like, I'm going to sigh in the key of A. But when you just let the body do whatever it's naturally guided to sort of reset itself, we activate the 528 hertz within ourselves. We shift the molecular structure of this body of water that we exist in. Now, there are studies, if you look this up in my research, it's very interesting that you will find that over time, and a lot of conspiracy theorists believe that when religion decided to make religion something that was inaccessible to a degree, that spirituality, that you needed a vicar, a priest, a nun to access God, that they kind of created a space between so that the individuals couldn't have direct access to God. What was indicted was this shift from the Solfeggio scale to what is called the 440 hertz, which is what we know, if you're a musician, as the chromatic scale. And the chromatic scale is what all musicians, not all, but generally the masses now use to tune guitars, pianos, and it's from that scale that then music is composed and written. But it's also said that this 440 hertz is dissonant. It's a standard tuning that is used among the masses, but it is limited because it does not have the healing, the love consciousness, the DNA repair qualities of the Solfeggio scale. It is said to suppress the heart chakra. It is said to activate separation, duality, and conflict. Whereas the 528 hertz is all about releasing conflict. It is said that if we listen to enough music that is distorted, that it can actually create harm in our body, right? Collectively, through the vibration, through those frequencies affecting the water molecules in our body and all parts of our body, within and without. And I think this is interesting. Why do I think this is interesting? Because on NPR recently, I heard that owners of fast food restaurants, and I forget where it is, if it was in Australia, but in England, they're trying this experiment in different places, and I think it's just delightful. It's very interesting that, say, a Burger King owner, a franchise owner of Burger King, would notice a lot of people gathering at their establishment that were causing harm, that were causing disruptions, that were maybe spraying graffiti or breaking windows or causing conflict. And this experiment that they're doing now is that on the outside, and some piping it in through the inside of the establishment, but on the outside is they have speakers on the roof that is blasting classical music. And classical music is written from the Solfeggio scale, from that 528 Hertz. And they've noted that the instant that they put this classical music on, that none of that energy, none of those people or those like conflicting energies that would have gathered at those establishments in the past, that just doesn't happen anymore. And they found that by leaving that classical music on blaring all night long actually has had the effects where no conflict is happening in the environment, in that surrounding environment at all. The windows are not being broken anymore. There's no graffiti. There's no drug deals or whatever the stuff that would be happening outside of these establishments. And I just think that's really, really very interesting. So I'm going to just check in here. Okay, so you had heard of it, Tammy. Yeah, it's so cool. It's so very cool. So words are sound, right? And I want to talk about, for a moment, quantum realities. So we touched on this last week, and I'll put a link here for last week's 4D Trinity. You know, we think about quantum realities, and we think about this, that we are a body of water within a body of water on this planet Earth. And I know that in the past, what I learned, if you read my book, The REIKI Apprentice, all of my links are down below in the Show More box. You can check out my books and such, is that our teacher had told us that we can, for the highest good, never any force of will, tap into the essence of a person, place, or thing for the highest good. Whatever you want, you can tap into the essence, and for the highest good, as it serves you and the greater whole, whatever amount of that essence is to be channeled into you and activated through you will, for the highest good of all. So I remember, I used to sing in a rock band, as many of you know, back in the day in New York. And I remember like getting ready for stage and feeling like, I want to try this calling in the essence thing. And there's this one specific night, and it's in my book, where I called in the essence of Aretha Franklin for the highest good. And I tell you, that show was off the hook. There was not only through my voice, but through my stance, through my stature, through the roots that I held on that stage. I felt, yes, it was me, but there was this other activation, this essence of her channeling through. And also, on another note, I remember having another situation where it was a big, big gig. I think we had like a record company coming to see us, and I was feeling nervous, or maybe my throat wasn't in the best, and I and I really wanted to be able to sing and wail and, you know, rock our music out. And I remember sitting beside the stage before we went on and saying a prayer and calling in all of the versions. I was using that essence key, tool rather, and I called in all of the essences of myself that have ever played a rocking show, that have ever wailed, that have ever had no resistance at all in expressing and singing through their throat chakra and from their heart, and all of these qualities. And I called in all of those parts of me through all time and space and all dimensions to gather into that moment, into that time frame of when and where I was going to be singing. And I'll tell you, it was on fire. So where can you do this for yourself if you are an actor, if you are a creative, if you are in any way giving a presentation, before you go in, before you facilitate or do your audition, whatever it is, right? It's just an interesting tool that you may be guided, and it's always for the highest good. We're not doing any weird woo. It's all divinely alkaline. It's alkaline vibrational medicine, because it's always for the highest good. And where it's not meant to go or run, it won't. And we don't force a will. We simply know that it is there as a possibility. We can request it and ask it of the Most High, divine. And as it is to align with us, it will. And so if you're, again, an actor and you have an audition, you can consider calling in all of those parts of you that have ever given your best audition, that have ever just hit the mark, that have remembered all your lines. You can do it when you have a presentation, you have a business meeting, when you have a concert, a show, an art show, you're creating whatever it is, right? You can call on those essences for the highest good. And I just thought that was very interesting. And another thing from my book, The REIKI Apprentice, I remember I was living on a mountain in Greece for 2 months. And this is before Facebook, before cell phones, iPads, Lady Gaga, before Twitter, before all that stuff. And there were actually books to read. There was no Nooks, no little Kindle Fire pads to read. if I'm even saying that correctly. And I remember one day taking a walk and finding a teepee that was the library teepee. And I went into this beautiful, cozy library teepee, laid out a blanket, and there was just this nice little stack of books. And I pulled this book out and started reading about it. And it had to do with Kirlian photography and how our thoughts and our energy and our prayers, much like Dr. Emoto's work, it affects food specifically. And again, these are things that we know intuitively, but sometimes when we bump into them again and again through books or through a video like this, whatever it might be, we're like, and more of those synapses, more of those parts in us get connected, and we remember, we regenerate that memory of the Most High, of that our word and water, our word and energy are intricately connected, and they talk to each other all the time. And so what is the conversation? And in this book, it showed a Kirlian photography of a plate of food just snapped. The plate of food was there, snapped. This is what the aura. Kirlian photography is old school, was discovered in Russia. And it is used now, but it is used digitally now, where you can go to a fair, right, a Life Consciousness Expo fair, and they'll take a picture of your aura. Yet it will be digitally, the colors will be digitally mapped, versus this was an analog, sort of very 3D version of that, the original version of what that is. So this photographer took a Kirlian picture of this plate of food, just as it was, set up there, and then the plate of food was blessed and prayed over, and then the Kirlian photographer took a picture of the food that was blessed. And the food that was blessed was like it had this beautiful, shiny aura. And you could almost see the food just glistening and activated and happy and awakened, versus just a plate of food that was just a plate of food. So we think about all these things, and we think about this body of water that we're in, and how our thoughts, our words, our actions, our deeds, our prayers, our chants, right? A lot of people chant in the spiritual community, spiritual chanting, mantras, right? And how, or Buddhists, I know a lot of Buddhists that a lot of their things, the SGI, pardon me, Buddhists, a lot of their prayers are just chanting specific prayers to Buddha, like 1,000 times, like over and over and over and over again. Generally, in the Indian tradition, to my awareness, it is 108 times. There's something sacred about that number 108 and how it activates through the atomic structures in the body. And so we can imagine, by saying a prayer over and over again, by saying a mantra, by saying an affirmation over and over again, placing that in our aura, in our energy field, but also in the physical body, how that is restructuring the water crystals within our body, affecting the synapses, that neuroplasticity of the brain, to perhaps be able to see things in a new way, to have a broadened perspective, without having any attachment to what that new broadened perspective has to be, but to simply place that prayer for protection, that prayer for financial blessing, that prayer for, for your new home, that prayer for whatever it is. And I know when I was in Santa Fe years ago, there's a little church where people, forgive me, I can't remember the name of it. I'll have to look it up. But they sell milagros, and milagros means miracle in Spanish. And they have a milagros, which is a little gem, and they have one for anything you think of. In fact, I'm going to get mine and show you here. Hold on one second. So if you have an ailment, if you have something going on, the person I was with at the time, my ex-boyfriend, was blind in one eye. He had been shot in one of his eyes. And he got a milagros of 2 eyes that he then hung at the rear view window of his car. You can get a milagros for anything. People buy milagros to get a new house, to heal their kidneys, to fix a broken bone, for finances, whatever it is. And this is the one that I was guided to get. And if you see, it's a book. It's a sacred scroll. And I've put it on this necklace, and I pray with it and I work with it, and I've asked it to help me on this journey of being an author, to create whatever it is for the Most High I am to create in service of the highest good, in service of my path, and for the highest good of all. And I had forgotten about this, and it was in a little bundle of old jewels, and I found it and I recalibrated it. If you follow me on Instagram, I think last week, I showed just like a little quickie where I had a few different pieces of jewelry in glass bowls at the window in the sun, and I did a little Reiki, drew the Choku ray, and this was one of the pieces where I was reactivating it and reconnecting with it, reprogramming it. I tell you, I wear it not every day, but I wear it when I'm called. And in this last week, as it's been reactivated and come back into my spheres, and it's like I can't even believe that I forgot that I had this miracle maker for this sacred scroll and books. But things are beginning to shift. Where there has been resistance, there is now more flow. Things are beginning to come together in beautiful ways, and that's the miracle. That's the divine miracle. So in speaking of all of this miracle stuff, let me just go ahead and read here. Oh, Tammy says, yes, this is your first time hearing. Okay, I thought you meant yes, that you had heard of Emoto before. Gotta run, I'll catch you. Okay, blessings, April. Thank you for being here, sister. Okay, yeah, oh, well, Tammy, I'm so excited then. That's really super cool. I love that. So miracles, 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 miracles abound. And we think about, have you ever been to a sound bath, right? Have you ever been to a sound bath and where someone is playing the crystal bowl, they're playing the gong, you know, different instruments, and you go in maybe in a funk and you come out, everything has been harmonized. The frequencies have shifted within your aura, within your body, leaving you, you know, and leaving you in a different reality, leaving you that you have shifted timelines in your quantum reality and living now in a different experience. So it's always fear versus love in this world. And eventually we reach that tipping point where we learn to trust love. We learn to choose love over and over again, so much so that that begins to shift the tipping point. So that even when fear drops in, those old things are triggered. We have so much love that we've built up that the ability to come back to love becomes easier and easier. Like I was saying at the beginning of this live stream, back in the day, I'd go into a depression and I'd be in that funk for sometimes up to months. And as I've healed my past and healed my world and my life, my consciousness, right? All those past things, that I do not linger. It's unheard of. I do not linger for months in a depression anymore, right? Anytime I catch myself snapping in, I can easier snap myself back out because that tipping point of love has shifted. So we can move from one dimension, a parallel dimension, from one timeline and shift into a new timeline of self at any given moment. Just like that lady drinking the water, you know, the faucet water, her blood work looks like one thing. The next moment she drinks a glass of water that has been blessed, all of a sudden her blood looks in a different way. It looks healthy. And isn't that amazing? So we have a choice, and it's choice upon choice upon choice. Constantly we are choosing, whether based on the past, based on old timelines of pain or hurt, or choosing those thoughts, those feelings, those actions, those words, those deeds that will free us into the now moment where the miracle is present. Free us into the now moment where the miracle happens within ourselves, where we shift the water crystals in our body, where we shift the way our brains are wired, and so shift the way we are connecting into that greater grid of collective consciousness. We are opening the door for ourselves first, and as we do that, we hold the door open for others. So it has been a while since we've done a meditation. We're going to end here with just a short meditation, and I'm guided to use the crystal bowl today. And I'm going to pray and affirm that you can hear it. And we're just going to take a few minutes to drop in using the crystal bowl and place thoughts. And if you're in a private space where you know you can speak out loud, I'll invite you to speak out loud certain prayers or certain affirmations into different areas of your life, different areas of your body. Okay? So we're going to go in now. I'm going to take this down so you can see the bowl. And we're going to take a moment to take a nice deep breath in and a deep breath out. And we'll sit or recline relaxed, calling in our angels and our divine guides. And for the highest good, we open ourselves to this frequency of the crystal bowl to help open the way for healing, to reset our energy, our minds, our bodies to the frequencies of love, of light, of gratitude, of joy. So as we breathe and we relax and we allow the sound of my voice, the sound of the bowl, to permeate the environment wherever we are, we'll connect with our higher self, with our wisdom self, just like that. All you have to do is have the intention of connecting with your higher self, and it is done. And we'll drop into the physical body and imagining this body of water that we are, the water crystals within our body. We will begin to allow our higher self to whisper to us divine words and phrases that serve our perfect health and well-being. We're going to move through the body from the feet up. So bringing awareness to the feet, all of the muscles, the bones, the tissue, and all the water that resides in the bone marrow, in the muscle, in the tissue, in the fascia, in your blood. It's a part of every cell of your being. What word, phrases, or words do you now place here at your feet? Allow your higher self to help you as you are guided, and either think them, speak them silently within, or out loud with awareness at your feet. Do this now. And we'll move up to the calves, to the shins, the lower legs. And again, what word, words, or phrases, or prayer are you guided to speak here? And it could be as simple as, I love you. We'll move up to the knees and imagining your focus awareness at the knees now. What message, what information, what blessing do you have for the knees now? Speak it or think it so. We'll move up to the upper legs, thighs, speaking your message of love here. Now moving to the hips, the pelvis, the genitals, the organs of the reproductive system. What blessing, what word, what thought, what prayer can you gift this area of your body now? Speak it or think it. Place it there. And we'll move up to the digestive system, the lower back. Placing our love, placing our words, positivity of affirmation here. moving to the stomach, the pancreas, the spleen, the gallbladder, the liver, the kidneys, and all other organs. This lower part of the torso. What message will you convey to them now? And moving up through the lungs, kidneys, the heart, the circulatory system, the respiratory system. What word or words, prayer or phrase are you guided to place here? And drawing awareness now to the shoulders, the upper arms, the elbows, the forearms, the wrists. What message do you place here now? Moving that awareness right into your hands, your fingers, your palms. What message of love do you place here now? Bringing awareness to the throat, the neck. What message do you place here? Moving to the head, the mouth, the ears, the eyes, the nose, the teeth, the tongue, the brain, central nervous system. What message do you have here now for this part of the body? And now, based on what we've seen in this presentation today of those water crystals and how beautiful they can appear, how beautiful they can coherently see and seem to be, imagining the most beautiful, bright, crystalline structures through the water of your body. Imagine them activating now through every part of your being. Imagining all those divine messages, prayers, blessings you've placed within yourself, revealing beautiful coherence, beautiful wholeness, beautiful unity, shining health from the inside out. Feel this love, this light, this divine alchemy, awakening and repairing your DNA, awaking and elevating your spiritual self, awaking, elevating your consciousness. Taking a deep breath in, and as you exhale, feel that you can see and sense this consciousness, this expansion moving out through your aura, through your energy bodies. And it is unlimited. It keeps expanding out and out and out, bringing its blessing to everything that would receive it. And again, a deep inhale, just breathing love and light in, nourishing all of those cells, those water crystals with your breath. And exhale, imagine expanding those sacred geometries, those sacred crystalline structures and formations out through your auric field. connecting you to those energetically, to those grids of perfection, of unity, of wholeness, of blessings for you and for all. And one final deep breath in and a full exhale, allowing this love, this light, these beautiful sacred geometric crystalline structures as reflected through the body of water that you are expanding out to surround you. And so it is. And so it is. Now take your time, slowly blinking the eyes open. I'm so very grateful to share with you now and always. I'm just going to have one last look at the comment box before we finish up here. Just make sure that I'm not missing anything. I'm so very grateful. Thank you all so very much for being here. I pray and I affirm that everything I share truly serves your highest good. If you are not subscribed at my website, drop by. Again, my links are down below in the Show More box. I'm at tuesdaymaythomas.com. It's my name. When you subscribe to my website, you will receive my monthly love letter. Check your promos and your social at your email. And you'll also receive a free copy of my mini book, The Higher Self Blueprint of Mastery. If you're on Instagram, my link is down below. I'd love to see you there. And thank you again, everyone. I'm so blessed. You are so blessed. Namaste for a beautiful, beautiful day. Thank you.